There's been a major shakeup at the Washington Post, and the timing of it all has left heads spinning and tongues wagging. Plus, is the Post trying to be the next news daddy? Welcome to Newspeak, I'm Holly Kellum. So if you follow the media, you're probably aware of the meteor that just hit the Washington Post. On Sunday, WAPO CEO Will Lewis announced executive editor Sally Buzbee would be stepping down effective immediately. Buzbee replaced Marty Baron of Spotlight fame as executive editor in 2021. Before that, she was the executive editor at the Associated Press. Okay, so now the question is why she stepped down. According to the New York Times, she told staffers that she wasn't on board with organizational changes being made by leadership, and these changes are pretty big. Along with the announcement of her departure, the Post announced a substantial restructuring of its newsroom. It plans to add an entirely new department, effectively splitting the newsroom into 3 segments. Its first is what it's calling its core, which focuses on its traditional journalism offerings like politics, investigations, business, technology, sports, and features. This is what Buzbee leads now. What the Post is calling its opinion section is, yes, you guessed it, it's opinion content. Things like the Post editorial board and its columnists. And the last one, a new department, is what the Post is calling its service social department. It says it would be dedicated to better serving audiences who want to consume and pay for news differently from traditional offerings. It will be comprised of service and social media journalism, and it will target those who feel traditional journalism is not for them, but still want to be kept informed. Compelling, exciting, and accurate news where they are and in the style that they want. So basically, it wants to be seen as mainstream media, except to those who don't trust mainstream media. Okay, WAPO, good luck with that. The Post says this is an attempt to move away from its one-size-fits-all model of journalism to reach new audiences. Now, I'll get into why it's desperate to reach new audiences in a minute, but first let me talk about how this relates to Buzbee stepping down. So, like I said before, Buzbee reportedly wasn't on board with these changes, apparently seeing them as a demotion. Now let me explain what I mean by demotion. Before she stepped down, Buzbee was the head honcho of the news side of things, and David Shipley oversaw the opinion or editorial department. What the Post is calling its service social department will be led by Matt Murray, the former editor-in-chief of the Wall Street Journal. The service social department will be completely separate from the core department, meaning Buzbee's footprint on the paper would become smaller because of it. According to the Times, Buzbee chafed at Mr. Lewis's plans to separate the Post newsroom into segments, and the pair quickly reached an impasse. Mr. Lewis said she could run one of the 2 newsroom segments, but she resigned instead. The Times quoted an anonymous source as saying she told staff that she would have preferred to stay on to, quote, help to get us through this period, but it just got to the point where it wasn't possible. Okay, so getting back to the reason for all these changes, the Washington Post is desperately looking to boost its revenue after being $77 million in the red last year. And even though it's owned by one of the richest men on earth, that's a lot of cash to burn through in a year. Now, I don't know all the reasons for this, but there does seem to be a strong correlation with Donald Trump leaving office. After he was elected, the Washington Post subscription soared. In 2020, it reported that it had 3 times the number of digital-only subscriptions compared to 2016, which is the year that Trump was elected. But since Trump left office, there's been a 50% decline. Whatever you call the opposite of the Trump bump is what seems to be happening. If you have a good name for it, let me know in the comments below because I don't know what to call it yet. So the Post is desperately trying to boost its revenue, and it rolled out a plan last month with some broad strokes of how it plans to do that. The plan is called Build It, and according to Axios, it includes a premium paid tier called Memberships, a subscription tier for professionals called Post Pro, and a consumer subscription product called Post Plus, and a flexible payments option for a wider set of more casual readers. Now, as far as I can tell, none of these changes that were announced have taken place except, Buzbee leaving. Murray will replace Buzbee as executive editor through the end of the presidential campaign, and after that, he'll go on to head the new service social department. And then Robert Winnett, who was most recently the deputy editor of the Telegraph Media Group, will run the core department. David Shipley will remain as the features editor. So what do all these changes mean? Well, there are a few notable things so far. First, as many have noted, Winnet is a Brit, and as far as I have been able to uncover, has never worked in the US as a journalist. Secondly, the Telegraph Media Group is known as being rather conservative, and he's supposedly good friends with former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who used to write for the Telegraph. And lastly, the Washington Post has invested heavily in its social media presence, even creating a TikTok team in 2019 as part of its Next Generation initiative.
You see, we're not just on TikTok now, we're on Shorts and Reels.
We wanted the same name across platforms.
And that's why we are
the Washington Universe.
I think we can expect that this news service social department will be that on steroids plus more. Maybe something like TikTok's News Daddy, but with a bit more expertise. If you like this video, please hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends, and please, please, please leave a comment for the algorithm gods. Once again, I'm Holly Kellum, and this is Newspeak.